I don't know what in the world we just watched, but not a single second of it was good. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Sea Radio. My name is Corbin. In the last 72 hours, the Boston Red Sox failed to win a single game against the Baltimore Orioles, but more importantly, in that same time span, they not only lost these games, but they also exposed basically every single weakness that this team has in the span of 72 hours. Genuinely, this series was so disheartening and bad. It feels like the Red Sox have not won a single game this season, despite the fact that even with this sweep, they're still tied for third in this division and 7-6 on the season. So what we are going to do in today's video is we're going to break this down. We're going to talk about all the negatives in this series, what it all means, why it exposed the Red Sox so much. We are going to talk about what positives there were, and we're going to talk about what impact this could have on the 2024 season. But before we get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Don't forget, these episodes are now available on Spotify if you want to listen to these episodes as opposed to watch them on YouTube if you're on the go or you don't want to see this face. You can now listen to each episode on Spotify as well. Link will be in the description down below. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Okay, just for the sake of fairness, I am going to talk about the positives first before I absolutely blow up on this team, and most of them have to do with this rotation, which remains one of the best rotations in baseball. It is the best rotation in baseball in terms of ERA and WHIP. They are on a historically good start to the 2024 season. Brayan Bello got the ball in Game 1, went head-to-head with Corbin Burnes, and actually did pretty well. He went 5 1/3 innings, allowing 1 earned run on 4 hits. He walked 2 and struck out 5. I think the most encouraging part of this Brayan Bello start was that this was a day game. Bello has absolutely been awful in day games throughout his career so far, so it was nice to see him perform while the sun is still out. There are still some concerns with how Brayan Bello's performing this year, but I think overall how he did in opening day for the Red Sox was nothing to really complain about. Cutter Crawford got the ball in Game 2, and he was able to get the job done. He went 5 innings, allowing no earned runs on just 2 hits. He did walk 4 batters, though, while striking out 6. I am slightly concerned with Cutter in a larger sample size. His command has been really shaky lately, and it feels like once he gets past the 4th inning, he just loses all control of a baseball, and that's a big concern throughout the rest of the year. He needs to be able to get deeper into games, and while he was able to go 5 in this one, in my opinion, it was a pretty shaky 5, although, again, you can't really argue with the stat line there. And the same can kind of be said for Garrett Whitlock, who got the ball in the 3rd game. Again, another really solid stat line, 5 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned on a solo shot with 2 walks and 4 Ks, and I think getting through the 5th is great, and they may be limited a bit because this Pivetta injury was pushing guys up a day, so they may have been sort of limiting Garrett Whitlock's pitch count and stuff like that. But either way, over the span of the course of an entire season, Alex Cora said that, hey, if our Stars give us 5 innings, they're going to put us in a good place to win these games, and he's not wrong, but it would be nice to start seeing these guys get a little bit of a longer leash and be able to go into the 6th or the 7th in some of these starts, because I think with how good this rotation has been, being able to do that would really help this team out. So pitching wise, again, there's stuff that we could sit here and say, well, maybe things aren't going to go right going forward, but overall it's really hard to complain about what this rotation looks like right now because it is the best in Major League Baseball statistically. Offensively in this one, there actually were some pretty decent performances. Tyler O'Neill hit an absolute moon bomb in the first game here, which ended up breaking a car, which was pretty funny. Although he was pretty quiet the rest of the series. Maybe he's coming down to earth a little bit. I mean, he had an astronomically good start to the 2024 season. I think it was only a matter of time before he started to even out. I think we're starting to see the beginnings of that in this series. Tristan Casas had a hit in every single game in this one. He is now on a 4-game hit streak, including a home run in this series. His season totals are now up to 260 average, 339 on base percentage, and 420 slug, good for a 119 OPS plus. It's really important that he starts heating up, and that's exactly what we're starting to see from Tristan Casas at the plate, especially with Rafael Devers, which for those of you who don't know, it could be ending up on the IL. He's going to take a couple of days here. His shoulder's still bugging him like I've been preaching for the last couple of series, but hopefully it's just a couple of days off for Rafi. But if he's not and he ends up on the IL. Tristan Casas is going to have to step up in a big way. Jarren Duran continues to look really impressive at the plate. He had hits in 2 of the 3 games in this one, including 2 doubles in the finale here. And Connor Wong had a good offensive series in this one with a really clutch pinch hit home run in the finale that ended up not mattering overall, but did matter a lot at the time. And he had a couple of RBIs in the second game. So I think when you're looking overall at the positives, yeah, there were some things to take away from this series that looked really good. Mainly this rotation. The offense didn't look as feeble as they have in past series, but man, there were a whole lot of negatives to talk about in this one. The biggest negative, we all know what it's going to be. It's the defense, right? We all know that the defense was an issue in this series. It was flat out disgusting. 5 errors in 3 games, and that is honestly an extremely generous 5 errors, right? Because there probably should have been 7, 8, or 9 errors in this series, because it wasn't just that the Red Sox were missing baseballs in this one. It wasn't just, oh, their mechanics were off in this one. No, they were making the dumbest boneheaded plays known to man. In the last game, in just alone, you had David Hamilton who couldn't keep his foot on the bag. That is little league stuff. Just touch second base. That's all it takes. You had Reese McGuire getting thrown out in extra innings, which ended up not mattering all that much, but that's going to put your team in a bad spot. How do you not realize that your other catcher is already playing second base? How do you not realize that? You had Jarren Duran missing a pop fly. You had guys throwing to the wrong cutoff. You had errors all over the place, and that's what ultimately sunk this team. The worst part about this series is that it was winnable for the Red Sox. The Orioles didn't come in and just crush this team. It looks like that when you just simply box score look, but if you watch these games, in every single one of them, the Red Sox had opportunities to win them, and basically they just handed them away due to this poor defense. And what's really shocking to me is that for a team that went through this in 2023 and had been talked about this entire offseason by this front office, hey, Tom Werner sat there and said, hey, this team was 8 games better than it was supposed to be because of this defense. For them to not do enough to make this defense better going into 2024 and have it start worse than it did in 2023 is absolutely despicable. It was watching a little league team on the field. It was absolutely, you were at the point in that third game where the Red Sox had a 2-1 lead, and you sat there and you said, okay, who's going to give it up today? Ultimately, it was Pablo Reyes, David Hamilton, but that's where you are with this Red Sox team right now. You are looking at them, expecting them, once they get a lead, to throw it away, and so far, they're at a 100% hit rate on that argument, and I absolutely hate this. I hate watching a team that has absolutely poor defense because they're just not fun to watch. If the Red Sox were losing these games because they just simply weren't a good baseball team, fine. But the problem is they are competing here. It's just 1 or 2 goddamn plays in the back half of this series that absolutely destroyed them. And it is making it unbelievably frustrating. And it honestly borderline unwatchable because you just assume the second you get a lead, oh boy, here it goes. The other bad part of this series was the bullpen. The bullpen absolutely leaked in this one. Chris Martin, for probably the first time in his Red Sox tenure, had a really bad outing, allowing 3 earned runs to come across the plate. Isaiah Campbell was throwing straight meatballs this entire series. He did not look good on the mound. His ERA went from a 2.8 to a 12. You had Josh Winkowski, who didn't look fantastic on the mound either. You know it's bad when Joely Rodriguez was one of your better performers in this series, right? And honestly, in all fairness to Joely, he has settled down since his blow up at the beginning of the year, but good Lord, right? The bullpen was supposed to be a really strong point of this team, but they just simply did not look strong at all in this series. Outside of, I think, Justin Slayton looked incredible, and Joely Rodriguez was the other one. Outside of that, right? Even Greg Weiser gave up a home run when he came into the game. It was not a good outing from the Red Sox bullpen at any point in this series, but again, you go back to the goddamn defense, because if the defense had done their job, I think the Red Sox bullpen in this series looks a whole lot better than it actually ended up looking. It all comes back to the really crappy defense. It's like everyone on this team saw Trevor Story go down and went, whoa, I don't want that to happen to me. I'm going to stop playing defense as hard as I can because I don't want that to happen. Or they just simply saw Trevor Story went down and just forgot how to play. I don't know what happened here, but basically, since Story was injured in this season, the Red Sox have just flat out forgotten how to play defense, and it's like watching the bad news Bears. It is unbelievable unbearably bad. And not to mention, you also had the offense, who did have some positives in this series and probably did put their team in a position to win this game, but they were also feast or famine. You had 2 runs in the last game of the series when you had opportunities to do well. You went from what? The first inning where you scored 2 to the 8th inning where Connor Wong hit that pinch hit home run without a single bit of run production. In the first game, Corbin Burnes is an absolute beast. He's incredible. I'm going to chalk that up to them just facing a really good pitcher, but the problem is this offense should be good as well. This is now the, 3rd or 4th time they faced a really good pitcher and just have not done anything against it. At some point, you got to hit one of these guys. It's got to happen if you're going to win more games than you're going to lose. You're going to play a lot of good pitchers. You got to be efficient against them, and they just got diced up by Corbin Burnes. In the second game, you did get to what's-his-face. I don't even remember his name in the second game who started for the Orioles, but again, your defense just absolutely craps the bed there, and you lose that one as well. So literally every single thing that the Red Sox had that we were like, well, that could be a bit of an issue throughout the offseason was exposed in broad daylight in this series. Whether you want to talk about the lack of depth on this team crushing it, which we knew was going to be a problem going into this year if there were injuries, or you want to talk about the fact that they just forgot how to play defense, which was clearly exposed in this series, or if you want to talk about the feast or famine offense in this series, all of them were exposed at one point or another in this series. Now, there is good news. The good news is that this was one series in April. This wasn't a push to make a playoff run. This wasn't a stretch of 20 to 30 games where the Red Sox look this bad. They've looked solid before in this season, and they've looked really bad before in this season as well, but it's 1.8% of 162 games the Boston Red Sox play in 2024. It should not be able to define an entire team. The problem with this series is that it has the potential to define this entire team, because if they go even another week by playing this brand of baseball, they are absolutely going to sink themselves before they're even able to swim, and that's my biggest problem with this series. Now, again, the good news is that there's time to fix this and get above it. We saw it in 2021. How many times in 2021 did we say, oh, they performed pretty well here, but they absolutely sucked here. This team can't go anywhere, and then they ended up in the ALCS, right? In fact, in 2021, the Orioles also swept the Boston Red Sox at Fenway in their first meeting at home. So it's not like we haven't seen this before. The difference is we don't really know how the Red Sox fix this problem that they have right now, specifically their defense. Actually, scratch that. We know exactly how you fix this problem, and that is moving Ceddanne Rafaela permanently to shortstop. No more rotations, no more substitutions. Ceddanne Rafaela is your defensive forward shortstop, and you figure out the outfield, because that's the clear solution. But the Red Sox don't want to do that for some God knows reason. So I don't know what the solution is here. It's not simply, oh, they just need an extra hour of fielding drills every single day, because it's clear that these mistakes aren't physical. It's not they're physically messing up. They are mentally messing up on the field, and it is absolutely crushing the Boston Red Sox. So they have time to fix it. I just don't know how they do it. I need to see this front office and this management be proactive and figure something out, because again, if they don't, this type of baseball could very, very quickly sink the 2024 Red Sox, and we could be in for a very, very long season, which I just simply cannot have again. At the bare minimum, be a fun team to watch. You might not be good this year because your skills might not match up with the other teams in this division, but just be fun to watch. Even if you suck, but you play a good brand of baseball, I'll still enjoy these games because there's still things to look forward to. But when you're doing this kind of crap, it makes it impossible to watch, and that's what I absolutely hate the most about that series like this. Again, it's early. They could still fix this, and I hope that they will, but I just don't know right now. It is this series was just unbelievably embarrassing. So let me know in the comment section down below, what did you think of this series? Is there any positives you could pull out of this? Do you think this sinks the season for you? Are you sitting here after 3 games in April saying, yep, this is it, the Boston Red Sox are toast? Or are you like me, where you're like, yeah, this series sucked, but there's still a lot of season left to go. We've seen it before. Let's see how they bounce back and face this type of adversity that we didn't think they'd be facing in April 12th. Let me know all all your thoughts on the latest Red Sox series in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Don't forget, episodes also available on Spotify if you want to listen on the go. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.